All right, so picture this. You're just hanging out, watching the World Cup, and bam! A portal rips open midfield and soldiers from the future step out. They've got a message that's about to ruin everybody's day. That's the wild ride that is the Tomorrow War. And today, we are going to unpack this whole time-traveling, alien-stomping story from start to finish. The weird thing is, this story really starts at the end. We get this horrifying glimpse into the year 2051, and it's not good. What's left of the human race is just scattered, constantly hunted, and about to be wiped off the map by some really, really nasty aliens. The stakes? Well, they're literally everything. So to get our heads around this whole timeline hopping mess, we're gonna break it down. First, the warning from tomorrow. Then, the draft to the future. After that, we'll get into a daughter's desperate mission. Then see how they try rewriting history's course. And finally, what happens in the new tomorrow. Okay, let's jump in with part one, a warning from tomorrow. So it's 2022, we meet our guide, Dan. He's a former Green Beret who's now a high school science teacher, just trying to live a normal life. He's at a Christmas party when those soldiers appear on TV right in the middle of that soccer match. And they're not here to fight us, they're here to beg for help. See, these soldiers, they're from 2051, and they lay out this terrifying timeline for the world. In 2048, a monstrous alien species they call the Whitespikes just appeared out of nowhere in Russia. And in only 3 years, that's it, 3 years, they've pushed humanity right to the edge of total extinction. So their plea is simple, and it's absolutely horrifying. They are losing, badly, and they need us to fight in their war. A global draft starts, just yanking people from our time and sending them into the future. The tour is only 7 days long. Sounds manageable, right? Except the casualty rate is over 70%. Most people who go, they don't come back. And I know what you're thinking, because it's the most obvious question in the world, right? If you've got a time machine, forget jumping into a losing war. Why not just pop back to 2048 before the aliens show up and just be waiting for them? Well, here's the catch. There's always a catch with time travel. Their tech, the jump link, has this one massive, unbendable rule. It's not a DeLorean. You can't just punch in a date. It can only connect 2 fixed points in time, exactly 30 years apart. So they're stuck. It's 2022 to 2051, or nothing. Which brings us right to part 2, the draft to the future. And you guessed it, our hero Dan gets his draft notice in the mail. With his military background, he's exactly the kind of person they're looking for to throw into this, well, this futuristic meat grinder. Dan is completely torn. I mean, what do you do? He can't stand the thought of leaving his wife and his little girl, Mirai. He even goes to his estranged conspiracy theorist dad to try and get the draft bracelet cut off. But that doesn't work out. And he realizes there's no way out. He has to go fight. So he says his goodbyes and prepares for the jump. But his trip to the future, it doesn't exactly go to plan. A malfunction sends his whole unit way off target. Instead of a safe arrival at a military base, they materialize thousands of feet in the air above a burning Miami. They are literally falling out of the sky and into the middle of a battle. It is pure, unfiltered chaos. And that insane drop leads us right into part 3, a daughter's desperate mission. Dan somehow survives the fall, and this is where his old training just takes over. He rallies the few survivors and actually completes their mission to rescue a team of scientists. His leadership doesn't go unnoticed, and he's immediately summoned by the top commander. And here comes the gut punch of a twist. The commander in charge of this whole operation, she's not some stranger. She is a brilliant, battle-hardened colonel. And she's his daughter, Maury. The little girl he tucked into bed in 2022 is now a grown woman commanding the entire war effort. And yeah, she's his boss. Talk about an awkward family reunion. Maury explains humanity's last-ditch effort. See, the male Whitespikes are basically unstoppable killing machines, but they all seem to be linked to the much rarer, much bigger females. So her plan, her only plan, is to capture a female alive so she can create a toxin that can kill it. It's like taking out the queen bee. Kill her, and the whole hive dies with her. So this father-daughter duo who barely know each other lead this insane mission to trap one of these female aliens. And you know what? They actually do it. They succeed. But just as Maury gets the toxin perfected back at their hidden sea base, the entire Whitespike horde finds them. Humanity's last safe place is about to be completely overrun. This brings us to part 4, rewriting history's course. The base is falling apart. Aliens are everywhere. Miri knows it's over for them, so she makes a choice. She forces Dan and the one and only sample of the finished toxin back to the past. And just as he's pulled through the portal, he has to watch as a Whitespike drags his daughter away to her death. 1. That's how many chances humanity has left. The entire fate of the world is now inside that single little vial Dan is holding. No pressure, right? But when Dan gets back to 2022, the news is just devastating. The future base was totally destroyed, which means the other end of the jump link went with it. The bridge to the future is just gone. The line is dead. So there's no way to mass produce the toxin and send it forward. And for Dan, personally, it means there's no going back to save Miri. But then, right when it feels like all hope is lost, we get another massive twist. One of Dan's former students is analyzing a Whitespike claw he brought back and finds something impossible: volcanic ash from a specific eruption that happened 1,000 years ago. This changes everything. It means the Whitespikes didn't just show up from space in 2048, they've been on Earth this whole time, just frozen under the ice. And that revelation kicks off our final section, the new tomorrow. Suddenly, the war isn't some fixed point in time anymore. It's not inevitable. The aliens are just sleeping, waiting for the ice to melt in 2048. Dan realizes if he can just find them and kill them now, in the present, the war never even starts. Of course, the government thinks he's crazy and won't back his mission, so Dan has to go rogue. He puts together a small team of vets who are with him in the future, and he recruits the one person who can get them to northern Russia, his dad and his plane. Their new mission? Find a crashed alien ship that's buried under a glacier and end this thing before it begins. Deep under the ice, they find the ship, and inside, the final piece of the puzzle. The original alien crew? They're all dead. The Whitespikes weren't the pilots. They were the cargo. They're just living weapons being moved around by some other species. But as they try to inject the toxin into the sleeping aliens, they mess up and wake the whole nest up, kicking off one last, desperate fight for survival. And in that final battle against the last queen, everything comes full circle. It all comes down to Dan and his dad having to work together, to trust each other. They're not just fighting to save the world anymore. They're fighting for Muri, the daughter and granddaughter whose whole life depends on them winning. And in doing that, these two fathers finally fix what was broken between them. Because they succeed, they completely change the future. That apocalyptic timeline is just erased. There's no war, no draft. Maury gets to grow up a normal, happy kid. And Dan gets the ultimate second chance to be the father he learned he was supposed to be, and to save not just the world, but his own family. And that leaves us with this one last thing to chew on. Dan stopped a global catastrophe that, because he won, no one else will ever even know happened. So it makes you wonder, if you save the entire world, but you're the only one who knows it was ever in danger, does that change what it means to be a hero? Pretty interesting question to think about.